Welcome to the Pattern Recognizer. Most people are running programs they never chose. Today we expose one of those patterns, see exactly how it works, and discover the precise shift that can set you free. Let's begin. Before you say a single word, at the elevator, at the negotiation table, in a conversation you think is casual, you have already set a price. You have already offered a version of yourself. In the silent seconds before speech, your body, your posture, your memory, and your childhood approvals have agreed on a baseline. That baseline decides whether you get to raise the text or not, the contract. Most people do not notice this moment, and so they keep underselling, overpaying, or conceding the center of their life. I call this the 0-point bargain. A promise of today, you will locate your 0 point, feel where it sits in your body, and learn a 1-minute reset to rewrite it every morning. One shift changes everything. Let's map the psychological mechanism. The 0 point is built like a ledger of early approvals and small concessions. A child who learned to quiet themselves to keep peace writes a debit entry, I will concede to stay loved. A teenager who hustled for scarce praise writes a second entry, I will undersell to keep acceptance. Behavioral economics calls this loss, aversion, and anchoring. You accept the first number offered because your brain is wired to avoid the pain of negotiation. At trauma, a few blunt rejections, and the neural path hardens. The next time you sense uncertainty, you apply the same template. You lower the ask, you smile broader, you move your shoulders forward without noticing. That is not moral failure. That is pattern. Most people don't see it because they're living inside it. Now the esoteric mechanism. Because structure shows itself on multiple levels. Sacred geometry teaches us a center, a point of balance that organizes form. In numerology, 0 is an amplifier. It makes whatever precedes it larger or invisible if left empty. The 0 point in your life is the energetic center you continually surrender. It aligns with the numerological anchor you learned early. Perhaps the number of approvals you needed or the count of reprimands you received. In physics, there is a 0 point field, the ground state energy that underlies a system. Imagine your worth embedded in that field. If your field has been set low by habit, every interaction resonates at that diminished frequency and pulls outcomes downward. This is why logic alone rarely shifts outcomes. The pattern is energetic, embodied, archetypal, and therefore sticky. That's the mechanism. Reframe this with a single image. A scale balanced on a fulcrum buried under mud. You adjust the weights on top, you bargain with numbers, you apologize, you try harder, but unless you expose and move the fulcrum, the scale will always favor the same side. Concessions look like personal weakness, but structurally they are engineering decisions made by an invisible hinge. If you can relocate the fulcrum, the same weights produce opposite results. So it isn't shame, it's leverage. Awareness first, action second. Here is the 1-minute 0 point reset morning work you can do in under 60 seconds. Step 1, posture. Stand with your feet hip width, shoulders back, spine neutral. Let your hands rest at your sides. Feel the anchor of your feet against the floor. Step 2, breath and count. Inhale slowly for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 2, exhale for 6. Do that twice. As you inhale, imagine drawing light into your center, the place at your sternum where decisions feel clear. As you exhale, release all the concessions, the small yes you said too often. Step 3. Numerological seal and verbal seed. Choose a single number that feels like a threshold. 3, 5, 8. One that you associate with order and boundary. Whisper or speak the seed phrase, I reset to center, 0 becomes mine. Say it once, with calm conviction. Pause. Notice how your shoulders adjust, how the throat softens. This minute relocates the fulcrum. Commit to it daily and you will begin to feel where your baseline sits, and you will find it easier to price, to hold space, to refuse the bargain. A simple progression if you want more. Week 1, the 1-minute reset daily. Week 2, add a written anchor, one sentence that states your minimum. Week 3, practice small negotiations using the anchor. If you want deeper protocols, there are longer rituals and mapped meditations in my library. One shift changes everything. Recap. You set a 0 point before you speak. Childhood approvals, loss aversion, and anchoring wire it. Esoterically, it sits on a sacred center and radiates through your life. And you can relocate the fulcrum with a 1-minute reset every morning. That is the pattern. That is the mechanism. And that is your shift today. If you're ready to decode the full architecture of your life, explore my complete library at Desmarques.com. Notice the first bargain you make today. In the elevator, on the phone, across the table, and test your reset. That is the pattern. That is the mechanism. And that is your shift today. If you're ready to decode the full architecture of your life, explore my complete library at Desmarques.com. The pattern is the prison. Awareness is the key.